Yeah, hi there, this is tuxauthor.com again. Welcome on my video channel. Today we want to talk a little bit about a tool which is able to enhance older photos or images with a lower resolution or I must say denoise those images if they were shot at higher ISO settings. I take this video as a commercial because we're talking about AIarty Image Enhancer, which the company gave the license key to me, so I have to take it as a commercial, but the company doesn't see this video in advance or doesn't have any influence on the content of this video in any way. So that is about transparency. The app is available, of course, for Windows and Macintosh systems, and comes just like the video enhancer in two flavors of a license. That's a 1 year license costing around 69 euros and gets updated only for 1 year. And the other one is a lifetime license for 89 euros and will cost you 89 euros, as I said, and has another advantage because you are able or allowed to install this app on up to 3 devices. The more cheap version or the 1 year license might be interesting for people who have a certain amount of picture they want to process with this tool and then afterwards don't have any need for a software like this. But that is up to you. You can choose either one. Okay, but let's see on the Macintosh what we can do and how the Image Enhancer app works. Okay, I started here AIarty Image Enhancer, which is of course the almost the same UI as you can see here. You got here the button for uploading images into the app. You can also, of course, drag and drop them. And then here on the right hand side, you got the switch for the used hardware, which is either, like in this case, CPU and GPU. And of course, you can choose GPU only. And maybe if you have a Windows PC with more, like a graphics card or even 2 graphics cards, you can choose all units. Just like the video enhancer, if you click here the question mark, you get information about the used AI model. But so far for my test, I'd used the default, which is More-Detail GAN G3 or version 3. Okay. And then here you got the option for upscaling your image. As I mentioned already in the video for the video enhancer, I wouldn't go beyond the X2 because you might get into artifacts and some weird results. So usually in my older photographs, if I need it, I will only go and double the resolution of the original image. You can click here or activate a 2-pass processing, which might take a little bit longer, of course, but in some case can improve the results compared to the 1-pass image processing, but you must be aware that it takes a little bit longer. And here we got the ruler for modifying the image itself in terms of color temperature, saturation, exposure, and so on, contrast, like here. That's the same like in the video enhancer. I don't use it rarely at all because usually when I use this tool, I export to DNG or a 16-bit TIFF file and then make the image processing in Lightroom or in Photoshop. But for shorter or minimal correction, that might be the right way, that you adjust the needed parameters like exposure and so on, and then export it to TIFF or even JPEG for further sharing the images on social media. Here you got the face restoration that might be useful for portraits or family pictures or something like that, which is specialized. But I hadn't found an image which I could show you here in the video, so I didn't use that so far. And last but least is the setting here for the export. Here you can choose between the TIFF format and of course the JPEG and PNG format, and you could choose the newer formats like AVIF and HIVE. But then you have to be aware that on other platform the HIVE format can be displayed. But okay, let's take, for example, here an image I took, and that is a pretty old one. I think that's from my first digital camera or digital DSLR. That was the Canon 400D. And like always, like same like in the video enhancer, you see here that the AI is calculating the enhancement which can be applied to the picture. If I go to here like a 200%, like this, then you can see here, I think, even though we are on YouTube and have to fight against a little bit against the compression, but I think it's clear that here the edges of the letters here and the edges here in the building are much sharper and enhanced compared to the original raw file. And that is even more visible if I choose a X2, which also doubles the pixel here, like from 3900 to almost 8000. But but the app will calculate the image again. Takes a little while. And here you can see it. And if you hear van, that is here my vans on the MacBook Pro are running, because that's sort of heavy duty for any CPU. But here you can see it even more. Okay, I have to go to 200% again, like this. And here you can see, I guess, a very big difference here in the letters, like this, and here in the parts of the building. But also it will enhance errors in the image. I don't know if you can see those red little dot here in the shadows that might be calling for image processing in either Lightroom or Photoshop. Okay, that's why I said usually won't go beyond the X2 factor in upscaling the image. Usually I would only enhance the image, make it a little bit sharper, and most of the time I use it for denoise functions in here. Okay, let's take another example. That's like here the plus sign, and then we go to the images here. Let's take this one. Same again, waiting for the interference, and maybe you hear the vans a little bit. You can see it here before he presents the result as a preview. Here I will go in a not so dark part and make it 200% for that you can see the difference. And I think if we take a look here on the wall here, then you will notice the difference in enhancement, overall sharpness, but also enhancement in denoise function, as you can see here. Maybe we go over here, and even if the lights here in the windows are not completely restored, I think you can recognize the enhancement and effect here on those parts of the image. Maybe we'll go here a little bit, and then you see the enhancement here, especially here in those parts with the denoise function in this case. Maybe we could here do a little bit and even do a little bit about the exposure. Crank up the shadows a little bit, like so. That's pretty good, I think. Okay, we do another example that is with my old Lumix G81, I guess. Here we have the same situation, loading the AI model locally after it's downloaded once, and then waiting for the interference so you can display a preview for that image. Okay, ready? And if we go here, or we have to go to the 200% again. As you can see here, the noise works pretty good, even though it's a pretty good loss of details here. Maybe you have to play around with the strength of the buff layer and reduce that so the effect isn't as strong as here. But for such an image that was shot with an MFT camera, that's with a pretty small sensor, and of course that is all you can get. And therefore in this case I would go only for X1, which doesn't enlarge the image like with the other examples. You can see here that it only got 4600 by 3500. I think that was a 16 megapixel sensor. And that would be, I think, an acceptable quality for image enhancement and denoising without having or losing too much details here in the image. And after you're done, you can export with those settings you choose the images either one by one or a single export. And of course, you can start a batch export like this one and export all the images to a certain format. In this case, it would go for TIFF. But if you want to process the image even further, you might want to choose DNG format. But of course, you can process the image even though it's 16-bit TIFF, but that is up to you. There are even the more modern format AVIF and Hive, but then you have to be sure that the platform where you present those images can handle those image formats. As you could see, the Image Enhancer app is very easy to use, just like the Video Enhancer app. You have a well-thought graphical interface for the user, and it's not overloaded with functions. You have just the basic ones, loading the AI model, define the enlargement factor, either if you want to go for X2 or even X4 and so on, and then you just can play around a little bit with parameters like exposures, saturation, contrast, and so on. As I said before, and then of course in the video about the Video Enhancer, I wouldn't enlarge older images more than twice the size. You can get away with X4 and so on if you have a very small image or image with a very small resolution, but then you go for possible artifacts in the image and so on. But maybe try it. Maybe you get away with larger enlarging factors than X2. The performance is pretty good. Of course, this AI model locally does need some CPU power, but I think, okay, I tried it here on the MacBook Pro, but I think even on not so powerful PC or laptop, you would be able to use this tool if you have a little bit more time for processing the images. The images can be exported, as you see, in different formats like TIFF, DNG, and so on. And this makes it possible to use these images, especially if you export in DNG or 16-bit TIFF, to process them even further. And that might be the big advantage, because you should do the enlargement and denoise at the first processing step, so you have a warning signal sort of if you overdo it with contrast and other settings in your image processing software. I only occurred a little bug or problem, which is to me for pretty bad because of the AIarty Image Enhancer, even though placed on the website, should be able to read RAWs from a Lumix camera. The modern Lumix cameras are owned at the SR1 Mark II and also the S9. The app is not able to read the RAW files. There you get a pink or so image that is totally not usable, as you can see here in a screenshot. I already mentioned this to the company, and I hope that they will repair this bug and deploy another version of this app. But with other RAW formats like older Lumix cameras and for my Canon cameras, I had no issue at all. Okay, that was my little review on the AIarty Image Enhancer app. If you have any questions, you can place them in the corresponding blog post or in the video here. And if this video was a little bit helpful to you, you might think about placing a like on the video, and you should think about subscribing the channel. That helps me a lot more, so I can produce video like this in the future. Okay, that was my little review on the Image Enhancer app from AIarty, and all I have to say is till the next time, ciao, tux oche.